Hello and welcome. This is a pretty big deal if you're here today to join us because this is the very first episode of Get Energized. As you can see, we're extremely energized right now. We have our exercise bands on. I'm a Monster Energy aficionado myself. Dan, our co-host here, he's pretty loyal to Red Bull, but we're pretty pumped and ready to go. So we're glad to have you here. And I figure it's probably as good a time as any to start talking about why we're doing this show, actually. So allow me to pull up some info and get it going. I'm Ligon Dorshan. I am a technical product manager at Amazon Web Services, and my background's in software engineering, a little bit of hardware, that kind of work. Been doing that for quite some time. I also spent some time in the energy industry, and my co-host Dan, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Sounds good. My name is Dan Kahn. I'm a technical program manager here at AWS. I'm a geophysicist by trade, so complementary to what the technology background that Lee has. I grew up wanting to be Indiana Jones. I didn't really like doing archaeology though, because there's too much time in the library, so I went into geology. I've worked in everything from energy storage to being on the side of a volcano in Iceland, looking at geothermal. And I'm really excited about energy sustainability, and I'm excited about this show, and we have a great topic today.
Yeah, we do. We do. Also, so I have an Indiana Jones poster back there. At
I
one
need the
point,
hat.
we'll put your name on there. Your name, your face, the whole thing. We're gonna make that like maybe a goal of some sort. We'll figure that out where we go from it. But yeah, so this is the very first episode. We're pretty excited. Why did we start the show? Is the way to think about this here. But the energy industry, as an industry, has pretty unique requirements, right? So there's a lot of older companies that have legacy software. A lot of systems have been in place for a very long time. And there's also a very demanding need for cutting edge technology as well. And that makes a pretty unique requirement set from a lot of different companies and solutions. If we start to think about something like a plant or a facility, those have sometimes been around 80 years. And these are older systems, not set in place, older buildings that are not ready to go. So we're actually retrofitting those and making them ready for modern technologies. The need to keep legacy software running and keep the lights on while everything is continued to be, very low from a cost optimization and a minimization perspective, as well as taking advantage of cutting edge technology. Pretty tough dichotomy. And to make that work is a really, really interesting issue. And that's basically how the show got started, right? So that's this kind of stuff that Dan and I would talk about. When we think about this here in terms of energy and from our customers in AWS, it's all kinds of things. So we're not just talking oil and gas or something out here. We're talking lithium mining to get cars onto the road. We're talking wind and solar and other renewable energies, and getting all of this to really be ready to take advantage of all the technologies that are available in AWS. There's a lot to do and a lot to talk about. That's basically what birthed the show. So why don't you talk about why we're on Twitch of it?
So,
Anything
so
else?
we're not on Twitch just to do video game tutorials. We're
Yeah.
we're actually
Yeah.
going to talk about energy. So, what we really like here is the most engagements where you learn the most is when you get to ask questions and actually talk to the person doing the science. At least that's the way I felt always. And this is a great opportunity to ask questions. We have a moderator in there. Please write stuff into the comments, write questions into the comments. We're looking at it all the time. And this is a good opportunity to learn from a lot of our different guests, because we're going to have guests that span all the different types of technology sectors and all the different types of energy. So it'll be a important way for you to learn. And also, we want an engaging audience. So please, if you like a different topic or there's a topic that you want us to talk about in the future, give us a heads up. We'd love to hear it in the comments, and we'll look forward to that.
So far, they like our headbands. They're wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they like the headbands. I
We
love
like
it.
how universal this is, right? So let's take advantage of it.
Yeah,
That's
the
the whole
red's
point.
down, the blue's up. We
Yeah, yeah.
coordinated, right?
Yeah, made sure everything's right here, right? That's the whole point. We want to have some fun, right? Should be interactive. Make sure this is good for you. I may sneak in a retro stream at some point, though they can't stop us for sure, right? The cool thing though, so in terms of roadmap, not outside of retro gaming, we're going to do a whole lot of different things, right? So the idea here is that we can cover the technologies, we can go into some really, really cool systems, but we also want to have other topics about renewable energy and things in place here. So there are times when we might go ahead and design some software and stream, and we can also bring in the CEO of a renewables company to come and talk. So really, please tell us what you want to hear. Please tell us if you think there should be a special event as well. We have plans for like special 1 hour engagements, that sort of thing. But there's all very, very tentative on the roadmap. For instance, there's no place to contact us directly right now. And it seems like we didn't plan, but I swear we did, because the rationale is we might do that on stream. We might let you pick some of the tech stack and put this together to show you how to contact us or how to do that work. So there's a whole lot of different things we can do. We have a lot of ideas. Feel free to leave comments. We'll put the video on YouTube later. Feel free to snag that as well. You can see that our names are on Twitch here. Send us a DM if there's something you'd want to cover about the show afterwards. We're happy to do that. But let's just start, because the fact we're about 7 minutes in and we have a decent amount of material to cover, I think we should. So the first topic, when we talk about energy here, and I've alluded to this, there is a decent amount of cost optimization that comes into the conversation here. So the cool thing is cost optimization goes hand in hand with sustainability. And Dan, I mean, we see this all the time from a customer's perspective, right? This is a very serious topic.
Yes, it is. It's a very serious topic. People want to know where their compute and energy is coming from and how carbon and non-carbon centric it is.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I think the first thing I want to touch on is the fact that historically there's been a lot of conversations on cost optimization. So let me pull something up to show you a really cool site that you may not be familiar with. You might be, if you're a Twitch viewer on here, fantastic. You probably know this, but I'm going to reiterate it anyways, right? I'm going to share a screen. Give me one moment and show you what is called, the WellArchitected Labs website. And I'm going to bring this up for a particular reason here. So as you can see, there's a lot of different pillars. If you're familiar with the WellArchitected framework, we have pillars to make a well-architected application. The thing that is worth calling out is, just before we go into our conversation on sustainability, there are all kinds of labs on this website. You can see we're in the cost page right now. Of course, there's operational excellence, security, reliability, performance, sustainability also in here. Some other parts about the actual tools and partners that can help you run a well-architected review. But the point I want to look at right now here is, so there's across a 100, 200, and 300 level labs in these cost places. So if you look early on, there's a lot of material like a cost and usage analysis, looking at your cost estimation from a dashboard. As you go a little bit deeper, you start to visualize your costs. You just start to do some analysis, understand the efficiency of your workloads. As you can see, there's an entire lab on that. If you go really deep, you get to kind of the 300. If you know what a Kerr file is, those are the labs for you, right? So there's a lot of cost info here. But the reason we're kind of talking about this is these are great labs to learn, but also this dashboarding perspective and a workload efficiency really actually ties into sustainability. So our guest today is Dennis, and I'm going to let Dennis introduce himself rather than me talking endlessly like I am right now. So let's add Dennis to the stream. Welcome, Dennis.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, hopefully. How's it going for you?
It's going good. It's going good. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Oh yeah, no, we're very happy to have you here. Do you want to do a brief introduction on yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So Dennis Newberry, I am Principal Product Manager, responsible for the Customer Carbon Footprint Tool and sustainability reporting in general. I'm pretty new to Amazon. Actually, this is my second month. I came to Amazon.
We sprung this on you, didn't we?
Yeah. So it's okay. It's okay. Trial by fire, right? So I came to Amazon specifically for this, right? I wanted to be part of this initiative and drive this part of the portfolio forward. My background actually is in cost optimization, ironically, compute optimization, working for a third-party vendor. And fun fact, I actually started my career in the industry, or in the energy industry, as a nuclear reactor operator on submarines. Not exactly sustainable, but I do have some experience.
You have knowledge.
Yeah, experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool. So, I mean, with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're working on, and specifically today related to the sustainability initiatives, and then let me know when you want your screen pulled up or anything there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. So just kind of starting from the top, back in March of this year, in conjunction with listening to our customers, specifically around their ESG reporting requirements, sustainability in particular, and reporting against greenhouse gas emissions, we launched what we call the Customer Carbon Footprint Tool. And the purpose of that tool is really to allow AWS customers to understand what their greenhouse gas emissions are. And the definition for us of greenhouse gas emissions essentially is carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide as equivalent carbon. So kind of starting at a high level, that's ultimately the goal, is to provide visibility for our customers in terms of what their carbon consumption is. And right now we're focused almost exclusively on scope 1 and scope 2 emissions.
Can you
So
tell
what?
us a little bit more about like scope
Yeah,
1 and scope 2, like on what those
Yeah,
are?
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the customer carbon footprint tool today is compliant with the ISO 14064 and the greenhouse gas protocol sort of governance models. And the greenhouse gas protocol divides the carbon emissions really into three different categories: scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. So scope 1 is the carbon emissions of Amazon Web Services, right? It's the from our operations, like how much carbon is emitted by our data centers and so forth. Scope 2 emissions are actually from the upstream energy provider. So we call that the
yeah,
grid mix. The carbon emitted by the source provider of the power that powers the data centers, that's for us is scope 2. And then actually scope 3 is the largest area of carbon emissions for most companies. And that's your sort of third party or from sources controlled or owned by other entities in the value chain, whether it's like your material suppliers or third party logistics
got it.
providers, that kind of thing. Now, as we kind of get into it, we I mentioned that we're focused on scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 1, if in the context that we've had here so far, is all about like how do I optimize my infrastructure, the well architected review process. How do I become more efficient? Well, ultimately, is to drive down the power consumption so that I can control that scope 1 power, right? For
Yes.
us, scope 2 is all about how do I consume renewable energy. So Amazon as a whole is the world's largest corporate consumer of renewable energy. And our goal ultimately is to be 100% powered by renewable energy by 2025. And I think at the end of 2021, we were roughly in the 85% range at the moment.
Awesome.
So as I kind of get into the tool here, and you can go ahead and share my screen if you'd
Yeah,
like.
absolutely.
I'll kind of dive into like how we control scope 1, scope 2, and what that looks like in the tool itself. So starting from the top on the console here, we actually the customer carbon footprint tool is linked to the billing console. So I'll start by going there, and keep in mind, I'm actually this is a demo environment, so some of my data is sample data, so it won't always make sense, but I'll sort of point out when that's the case.
Sure.
But from the billing console, if you go to the cost and usage reports, you can see I don't have permissions for the CUR report in my environment, but I do have permissions to the customer carbon footprint tool. So now the first thing I would want to know as a customer is what is my total carbon consumption, right?
Yeah.
And that's provided here in the summary on the left. So for my environment, it's 6,888 metric tons of carbon equivalent. So the core metric that we use is metric tons of carbon equivalent, right? You'll see that throughout this tool. And I mentioned we launched this back in March of this year, but we provide data back until January of 2020, and it's provided in monthly increments going forward.
Hold, quick question. So is this available for every customer then to view and
Yeah,
go?
absolutely. It's available today, and it is available for free. So you should be able to go in, and there is a role you have to turn on an IAM to
Sure.
turn access on, and that's actually in the docs. But yeah, it's available today for free.
Fantastic.
All right.
Great.
So the next thing I'd want to know if I was a customer is, does moving to cloud actually help me reduce my carbon emission? So one of the things that we've kind of built into the tool is really that comparison between an on-prem environment and our environment, right? So Amazon Web Services. So there was a study done by a company called 451 Research, and they analyzed on-prem environments for around many enterprise customers around the world, and came to the conclusion that in the United States, at least, you can save up to 88% of carbon emissions compared to the average US data center if you go to Amazon Web Services. Now, that number is actually higher if you compare it to like data centers in Europe, for example, because Europe has a larger density of renewable energies than does the United States or Asia Pacific. So we built that into the tool. We took that analysis done by 451 Research, and we built some analytics around that, and we put it here. And you can see by being in Amazon Web Services compared to an average U.S. data center, I'm saving 11,847 metric tons of carbon.
Wow.
And specifically, I talk a little bit about like our role, or our goal rather, to be powered by renewable energy, we actually factor that in as well. And that's what you see here under emission savings, specifically from renewable sources. So this is to suggest that we saved, my environment at least, saved 4,959 metric tons of carbon because I'm using renewable energy sources in the grid mix where I have my workloads running.
Very cool. Very
So
cool.
yeah, so then the next thing that, obviously we're cutting this data by geography rather. And one of the things I kind of mentioned in passing was um, all of the grid mixes for each of the various regions within these geographies aren't created equal, right? So there is differing numbers or amounts of renewable energy per region. And in general, Europe has more renewable sources than does the United States or APAC. So you could have a workload that's consuming the same number of compute resources that's actually emitting different amounts of carbon in the tool, as evidenced by the tool, based on the grid mix that's applied to that geography. So generally speaking, you would be emitting more carbon most likely from APAC than you would be from the same workload running in Europe. And then the next, yeah.
So you can optimize based on region that you're working in.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And then the next thing that it would, I would be interested in as a to really drive more fidelity into the data is to understand what is the distribution of carbon emission by service that I'm consuming from Amazon, right? So, and right now we have EC2 and S3 and then other. So clearly, this is an area where we're going to be expanding the other list into other popular services that we provide. So that is a common request that we've had thus far is, can you add DynamoDB? Can you add other services? Absolutely. This is the direction we're going. We're going to be adding additional services over time. And then, I mentioned kind of the fact that I have sample data, right? So this is a flat line for me. This will not be a flat line for you, I promise. Your Amazon Web Services carbon emission statistics monthly should be a varied graph based on essentially your power consumption and your carbon emissions over time. And then you can see this by month, by quarter, and by year. And then really the last thing that we put focus on really is our path to renewable energy. I kind of said this at the outset. Our goal is to be 100% powered by renewable energy by 2025, and you can see that is the end state of this graph. And you will see this in your data going down down and to the right. And that is as we add renewable sources to the grid mix where your workloads are running, you'll start to see this trending downward.
Got it. So I know you can't talk, or sometimes you can. Roadmaps vary, but in terms of everything you're showing on the screen and what's available, do you have updates or any additions planned for this particular year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the things that we've already committed to. I will just tell you about what are the common requests that we get, right? So the most common request is, well, you provide EC2 and S3. What about DynamoDB? What about some other service, right? So we have a long list of services, obviously, and we want to extend this list to include additional services. The other thing that we have requests around is, geography is great, but what about site level data, right? I want to see that type of information. And the other is data granularity, right? So we provide data monthly, and sometimes it can take up to 3 months for us to compute the estimates based on the fact that we're essentially waiting for supplier information from that grid mix that I talked about. So we're trying to drive down the granularity of that data so that we can provide data faster. And then the other thing, obviously, is today we provide this via this website and a downloadable PDF file. But if you're trying to integrate this into your BI solution or you have your own solution, your own data lake, and you want to ingest this data along with other cloud providers, along with your own private cloud and so on, you need to be able to do that through an API. So that's something that we have planned as well.
Very cool.
Are you capable of breaking this out by energy type? So if you're like doing more geothermal or wind or is something, is that on the roadmap? Or I know you can't go into a lot of that.
Not yet. This is not the focus of this at the moment, right? So I think one of the other I mentioned at the beginning, scope 1, scope 2 emissions. We have customers asking for what you just suggested, along with a variety of other things, including Can you provide scope 3 emissions as well? So we have a very long list already. So this has been out since March, and thankfully, we've gotten a very, very awesome response with customers using this. So I have a lot of requirements already to work from. I've kind of highlighted some of the ones that are low-hanging fruit, if you will. But yeah, absolutely. So no to that question, but there are a number of others that are being planned.
Do you have any thoughts on the carbon footprint, regarding carbon footprint?
Well, the thing that I would say is, I see this as no longer. It started as a differentiator for many companies, saying, "Hey, I want to differentiate." For example, I was using the Chipotle app on my phone recently, and it will tell you like how many trees you saved or whatever by eating burritos at Chipotle, right? So this was kind of a cool differentiator to many companies, but it's becoming more than that, right? So more and more companies are saying, "Hey, I have to have this information." Right? This is no longer something that's differentiating to me. It's something that I have to have in order to run my business. Right. So we're taking that very seriously and saying we have an obligation as a provider to give you this information in a manner that you can consume it, and ideally in a manner that allows you to optimize, make this something akin to cost and performance, and so that you can optimize around this capability or around this particular dimension of your workload provision and your business overall.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I had only heard of this, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago at first, and found this to be something that a lot of customers brought up. And again, we're saying in terms of this being cost optimization and sustainability, this part wasn't always there. There's a lot of costing dashboards. There's a lot of conversations we would have related to what you could do, but it did not necessarily have its peer like this. So this is really great. I know there's a lot of people interested in this, and we're really excited to bring awareness to it, knowing that there's definitely a need for this. So this is great. Really appreciate you giving a demo like this and just talking about kind of where the roadmap's going. That's really, really appreciated.
Yeah, and I look forward to coming back to this stream when as we have changes, and please invite me back. I'd love to talk about this more in the future.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we're really, there's a reason you're the honorary first guest, right? And especially 2 months into your job. So I think that's a round of applause. Good job. Very well done. Well versed. You look like a pro, right? There you go. What can you do otherwise? It's perfect. So thank you for that. We'll let you go, and I guess we'll wrap up a little bit here, just to everybody in the audience. But again, Dennis, thank you for showing up. This is great.
Thank you, Dennis.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Take care. All right. So as we mentioned, you've now seen the first episode of Get Energized. So hopefully this is valuable. We like it. Right?
I'm enjoying myself.
That's the plus here. A couple things I think we want to talk about. Dan, stop me if I miss any points, but some of the big takeaways. We already mentioned the roadmap is something that can be easily adjusted. If there's something you'd like to see related to the topic in general, let us know. Like I said, send us a DM. We'll have a site up and running later. This VOD will be on YouTube at a later point in time. Really, another call out again, Dennis, thank you for being here. This was great. I think that's really, like I said, myself, I had these conversations all the time, yet I didn't know about this until very recently, and it's a very important tool from that regard. So when you're balancing those cost conversations and you have people coming in asking for how to make a business sustainable, this is really the whole picture now in that sense. So I think, Dan, you've had a billion of those conversations yourself.
Yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. Just the ability for customers to come in and then optimize by energy sustainability is what we really want to see. And it's good that to have that in our first show to make sure that everybody is aware of this product. Because like you, I wasn't aware of this till only just like a month ago. So this is a fantastic tool. Please look forward to it. Use it on AWS.
Please.
Do that type of thing. And yeah, we're excited. Anything you all want to see, we have a bunch of different topics that I have in mind for different types of energy and technology moving forward. So just write in the chat, contact us, give us a heads up if there's some cool technology out there that you would like to hear about, and we'd love to cover it.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's good for you. So another note, you see the cost optimization guy in our chat here. That's Bryce Higgins. He's awesome. He's moderating for us. He's the best. He's the best there is. So thank you, Bryce. A lot of fun. I also saw a lot of questions about certification. We have some shows. Make sure you actually click follow. Make sure that your heart is on the screen here, showing you love the AWS channel, because there's also a bunch of training and certification material on that.
Yep.
I'm actually going to be writing some more questions for the DevOps professional test later this week. Tomorrow, actually. Wait, it's Thursday already.
Yeah,
So tomorrow, so I'm going to be writing.
Hopefully, it's not Saturday for you.
Yeah, no, it's Friday. I swear, I wouldn't do Saturday. So I'm involved with that as well. Dan's here. We all love to tell you there's a bunch of other good content and shows to follow. So make sure you're following. So far, you love it. Thank you. We appreciate it. Our whole goal is to have fun and to educate and to do this here. So we love having you here. Taking the DevOps exam, right on. Good luck.
Yeah.
Absolutely good luck. Redeeming channel points for a job. That's a new one. I don't know.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, we'll run that past Twitch. Okay. But anyways, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. This is a lot of fun. In general, first Thursday of the month, this will be the show. We'll update some more and we'll keep you posted. But thank you. Take care. Been a good time. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.